What we don't talk enough about is the good part of all this. And the good part of all this really is tempered by the problem that all students do not have laptops. But we often have circumstances where we can go into a lab, where we can give every student a computer, or where we can find other ways where students can group 3 people to a laptop, 4 people to a laptop, do a whole number of really cool activities. This is sort of a list of different types of activities or different types of pedagogical theory that back up the fact that we should be using wireless internet in the classroom, that we can help to engage our students. Cooperative learning theory, the whole concept of constructivism, where our students are constructing their own knowledge rather than us just feeding it to them. Being helpful to students with different learning styles, because some students are very visual in their learning style, some are very auditory. Allowing students to go out onto the internet and do this is actually very helpful for students with certain kinds of active learning styles. Problem-based learning, obviously, one of the things we can do is go out and create activities to help students collaborate to solve problems off the internet. It does support higher level thinking skills, because now we're not just giving them rote memorization. Now we're giving them the power of the entire world out there to go out and look up information, connecting to real world knowledge and clearly applying that knowledge. Here's the kinds of activities that you can do, and there's a number of them. I got a few examples for you, but not a whole lot. Debates, case studies, web quests, online surveys, online research. Viewing any number of things like streaming video. Now, put this in this context as well. This could be just coming from your console up at the front. It doesn't have to be each student with a laptop. But once you're in an internet-equipped classroom, you have the power to do a lot more than just PowerPoint. You now have the power to get out there on the internet and do a whole number of different activities. Collecting fast feedback from students. If they want to just give you a real quick answer to a question, they can email. They can type things and send them to each other. They can go out and locate articles. They can submit to PDFs. One of the coolest exercises we've had for the last 3 or 4 years, a couple of our professors do, is that they have their students create, and one of them started this with the Wikipedia itself. There's a whole bunch of, now there's an Academopedia, and it's gotten a little pedia insane. But a couple of years ago, one of our professors had all of her students create entries for the Wikipedia on their area of study. You know, like the typical wiki entry is like a paragraph. And then they all submitted them. There were 300-odd students in her 2 sections, and 70 or 80 of them actually had them accepted and integrated into Wikipedia. And that was so cool for them. Like, they thought they were famous. That's it. Boy, you could say that you're quoted in any number of scholarly journals, but when you tell these students that they're in the Wikipedia, now they think they've arrived. But it gives you that activity. They don't have to have the laptops in the classroom. Almost all of your students have access to the internet. Virtually all of them do, by virtue of being able to use campus resources to go to labs in the library or student computer labs and things. And the vast majority of them now are arriving on campus with some kind of computer. So when you're thinking of activities and exercises, you can go way beyond where you had thought before that you could go with the kinds of research activities that are out there. Now, we have also another issue that a lot of professors are concerned about is, they're not going to scholarly research in this case because they're using Google to search things. And it's true. It's a different level of searching, and you know that, we all do it. Is that you go onto Google and you look something up, there's a lot of garbage out there. But there's also a lot of useful information out there. And what there is on Google and on the internet for our students is there's connections to what's actually happening today in the world out there, which they don't always see in those dusty books that you pull off the shelves in the library and in the very high-level scholarly journals, which most of them are unable to read or make sense out of, and which in reality are all reporting little slivers of research here and there, where they can actually have fun and become connected to the world. And it opens up a level of different kinds of assignments to you that is dizzying. Are there academic integrity issues? Yes, of course there are, but there always have been. Paper mills were around when I was in my undergrad. It was just more tedious because you had to write away and they sent a list, and then you picked out which one you wanted and filled out the order form. I never did this myself, but I know people that did it. It took 6 weeks to get the paper. At that time cost $30. I think they're more than that now. That's telling you how old I am if you buy a full paper for $30. But paper mills have been around for a very long time. This is just a different way to do it. But you need to be clever and you need to be creative in how you construct your assignments so that they're ones that they can use different internet resources for, perhaps, and not...
In terms of voting, you had the clickers in the classroom. Is there an online site that you can do that with?
There's a number of online sites that you can go directly to. There's a whole lot of different survey sites. And there's actually something called FAST, or the new version is called Too Fast, where you can, really it was for assessing your teaching. Free anonymous survey tool. It's out of Mount Royal College in Calgary. We actually collaborate with them on the tool, and now it's Too Fast because it's the second version. And its main intention was to let you do fully anonymous evaluation of your teaching that your students knew didn't reside on WebCT, it didn't reside anywhere. And a lot of faculty are using it worldwide. But you can also use that for a number of other surveys and things.
Isn't that brilliant? Instead of waiting till the course eval's done, you get the course done and you get feedback.
And nobody will ever stop you from evaluating your own class. People are shocked when because the common complaint about the summative evaluation at the end of the course that goes into your tenure dossier and all that your dean looks at is that, well, what's the good? It didn't help these students because they did it at the end. But there's nothing to stop you from giving out the exact same form if you want to earlier on. You can always, but be ready. If you ask them, you got to be ready to do something about it if they tell you.
Well, I delivered some 3-part workshops when I was doing some work
Yes.
career here, and I found that getting feedback at the end of the first one, like the third one, you got to what they needed.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
Until the end, and it's like, okay, we've done it. Next group we've learned.
Well, that's it. But what you need to understand is those institutional teaching and learning evaluation of teaching forms are summative. They're, as much as you may get something out of looking at them, their whole point is to evaluate you in order to use that metric in order to make a decision about your academic career. That's why they cause such a political fuss, those forms. So there's no reason why you can't, and that's what FAST was designed for to begin with. There's a lot of profs that will just put a student questionnaire up at the beginning and get students to continually give them feedback on their teaching the whole way.
I find it also creates a culture too. If you ask students to evaluate you, creates a culture where they evaluate themselves. So you kind of say feedback becomes the norm as opposed to
one way,
right?
Yeah, and as according to, and the other advantage to formative evaluation of your teaching as you go is if they've got a real bone to pick with you, if there's something they don't like, and they tell you about it before the course is over, and you address it somehow, they're less likely to put it on your summative one at the end because they've already told you and you've already done something about it. So it really can improve your teaching scores and improve your teaching. So you can do that. Now there's also clickers. Most of you are familiar with clickers at this point. They're remote response instruments. They look like, they're not this big. I should have brought one. There's lots of them. Most of them are about the size of a cell phone. They're called clickers because they look like TV remote controls, and they operate essentially like that. It's a piece of software that you put on your console computer at the front of the room. Each student has a clicker. Most of the clickers have A, B, C, D, E on them. And you can get them to vote on a number of things. So if you want to stop and do a learning or a knowledge check partway through, you may throw a multiple choice question up there and say, okay, how many people think the answer is A, B, C, or D? If you got the answer, okay, I see most of you pick, and then it gives you instantaneous results. It works just like the ask the audience on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. When they'll say, let's ask the audience, okay, audience, that's a remote response. It's one of those. Remote response system. Some people actually use them. You can authenticate one student per remote. Some people use them to take attendance and things, but students tend not to like that. They like it when they're operated anonymously. But it does engage them, and it is interesting.